Hello and welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And today I'm the northern end on the Scottish mainland, and there is the sea, and over there we see Orkney. And behind me I see a small burn, a small creek, and that is called the Wolfburn. Yeah, we are here at the Wolfburn Distillery, and the Wolfburn then flows below that little bridge and towards the sea, and it flows through the town of Thurso. Thurso is not a Gaelic name, it's not an English name either. It's a Viking name, and that means Thor's town. So Thurso, Thor's town, the Nordic god, and so is kind of a short form for town. Today we are seeing the Wolfburn Distillery, and let's see what this distillery is all about. So the distillery is named after the burn, but we don't really know why the Wolfburn is called Wolfburn. It was probably because there were many wolves up here in this region, and there is a legendary creature that is the symbol for the Wolfburn Distillery, and this is the sea wolf. Yes, there is a legend of a wolf around here that lives in the sea and on land. Very dangerous, and if you see one, that brings good luck if you can survive. Yeah, it's a legend, it's not real. You will never see a wolf, a sea wolf. And yes, this sea wolf was designed after the works of Conrad Gessner, the legendary zoologist of the 16th century. Yeah, the old distillery of Wolfburn. There was an old distillery in 1821. It was founded, and it was a bit more upstream of the Wolfburn, and it was founded by a guy named Smith, and he was a soldier in the Royal Army. And he used his money that he got to build this distillery up here in the north. And it was 1821, so it was not quite known if he officially registered. But in 1826, he actually was definitely registered, and he paid taxes. And that's why we know how much he produced back then, because he registered 125,000 liters of alcohol, with the taxman, and paid taxes for that. So that was really much for back in the days, and it's about that much what the distillery produces yearly today. And so a bit of history there. He actually died in 1845 and was buried in the chapel of Thurso, the town nearby. And after that, the distillery was going up, going down, and it finally was going so much down that it was actually demolished. The equipment was auctioned off, and in 1870-ish, around there, it was mapped in the Royal Ordnance Survey, the guys who do the maps, as in ruins. So that was a point of time where we know it was not in working shape anymore. And actually in a few years' time, the next survey didn't actually mention it at all. So nowadays you can only find little stones on the ground where okay, there must have been a building here. And so that was the old distillery. The new distillery was planned 2011, built 2012, and in 2013 they set off and distilled and found their distillate, what they want to have. And that is quite some time already. And we are at the point of waiting. Will there be finally coming a bit of an age statement whiskey? And let's find out how the whiskey is produced and ask this question later. So the water that we've just seen ends up here in the mash tun, and it's 1.1 tons of grist combined with 9,000 liters water, and that is being mashed to get all the starch and all the sugar out. And they are doing kind of batches, and they're doing 10 months of non-peated barley. So they have a non-peated whiskey in 10 months of the year, And with 2 months of the year, they do a very lightly peated whiskey. So they say they do it at about 10 ppm. So you will have that smell of peat in here. And after this 2 months, there's a full cleanup to get everything out. And then this cycle starts all over again. So after we've washed out all the sugars and a bit of the starches, then it's over to the fermentation. The mash is then mixed with a special South African yeast, which I'll come to later. And we have 4 wash bags, and they're filled to about 5,100 liters. But the wash bags do have a capacity of 9,000 liters. So they have quite volume left, so you don't have to have any rotors, and it will not bubble over because of that huge distance between the filling level and the top. So what they want at Wolfburn is they want to have really fruity and really floral flavors and vibrant flavors. So the mash comes from South Africa as a special yeast to achieve that, and also they have to ferment really, really long. They ferment between 76 hours and about 90 hours. And that time you have the full alcoholic fermentation, and after that ends, then it's still working and it's shifting the flavors into that really fruity, floral, vibrant kind of wash, and that is exactly what the guys at Wolfburn want. And if you look here, then you see the equipment they're doing that with. They don't have the electrical measurements and all that kind of stuff. They have a beaker, and they take a sample, they put in their measurement equipment, and they can find out exactly how much alcohol they already have, and if that's good, and if they're within the parameters, and they all fill it into the sheets and have a look if all the equipment is performing nicely. So, and you can already see the stills in the background, so let's go there. So this distillery here is kind of new, but they are doing it quite in an old kind of fashioned way back in the days how they did it. But let's start off a bit with the numbers. This is the wash still. It's a wide wash still. It's a classical Scottish wash still. It is filled with 5,000 liters of volume, depending on how much the batch comes out, and is being heated by a steam coil. The spirit still is a bit smaller, 3,000 liters being filled in here, and it has a reflux bowl, so more copper contact. More copper contact means you take out the sulfur, and that means you have a lighter and a nicer spirit, so that's what they're looking at. Also, what is really important is the separation of the alcohol, and because they are doing a bit of a slower distillation, that means the alcohol has more time to separate, and therefore better separation, and you don't have as spicy flavors in the raw spirit, but you have a lighter and nicer flavor, just like the typical Northern Highland style Scotch whiskey. Yeah, so after the wash still you have about 20% ABV, and after the spirit still you come out at about 73% ABV. What is really nice here to say, they are a bit of a classical wash still, so I can run you down how this whole system works. It's pretty nice. You have these 2 levers, which is like the controls for both the stills. So if you turn up that lever and the engine is on, the steam engine, then the steam is being pumped into these coils and they heat up the wash you've just put into the wash still, and it starts boiling. If you want to go more steam, hotter, then you turn it on, like this way around, and if you want to go slower or turn it off, then you turn it clockwise. On the other side, same thing here. You open it, you go faster, you close it, you go slower. Usually the wash still goes faster because you just want to burn it through, and the spirit still you have to be that has to be just set right to get the right kind of flavors during the distillation. How you know where you are and how you know how to set everything is in the spirit safe. This is kind of the measurement tool and a bit of the adjusting tool as well. For the wash still, you don't have any adjustments. You can just measure. And what you do is you have a beaker, you open the valve, and you get everything that just comes out of the condenser in liquid form into that beaker, and there's a temperature and density measurement in there, and then you can find out at what percentage you are. If you're not distilling any alcohol anymore with the wash still, you shut it off. If you're left with pot ale with no alcohol, you can use that as on the field, so it gets pumped off. And they actually have the old, for the storage tanks, they have the old wash bags from the Cappadonic distillery. Really nice. So a bit of upcycling there. So it's being pumped off the pot ale after the first distillation into the waste tank, and that goes off to the farmers. And then comes the stuff goes into the intermediate tank, and that comes into the spirit still. And now comes the really important part where you have to write down everything, calculate everything, and it's being written down in all the sheets, and they have to take a look at the process really, really carefully and don't do any mistakes. You have two measurements here, so you can open up, measure the temperature, measure the density, and find out where you are. And when you start off, the alcohol, the 96% alcohol, that is the first one to rise. And you will find, okay, 96% alcohol. There are very, very light alcohols in there and substances that really feel a bit like disinfectant or cleaner. So that's what you don't want in your whiskey. So you have the 4 shots. You distill, but you don't take them into your whiskey. You put them in the separate tank that's being reused and redistilled. It changes with the copper contact, so that's why you can reuse it and distill it again. And when you're satisfied, you've had the 4 shots, and you're at that point where you realize just measure the point where you are, and you think, okay, that's the right stuff. You turn that lever, and it goes into the spirit tank. The spirit tank is that what ends up in the cask. So then you are at the point in your heart piece. First turning point is going into the heart piece, then you distill, and you come with the ABV lower, 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 lower. And at the lower stages, you get a more robust, more bitterness, and more strong flavors that you sometimes don't want. So Wolfburn probably sets their point a bit higher, so they put more into the waste tank. They switch over earlier into the waste tank to not get these really spicy and bitter flavors into the whiskey. They don't want that. And then you collect that also in your tank, and you have it in your next run. So that's basically it. The spirit still is then dry. You shut it off, and that's your batch of whiskey distilled. With a 73% alcohol, it comes off into the tank. It's being watered down to 63.5, which is industry standard, and then it's being pumped off to warehouse number 1, where it is then put into the barrels or casks. This is one of the 4 warehouses the Wolfburn Distillery has, and they already have one warehouse in planning. So they're already planning ahead that they want to have more stock, keep their stock longer and older in the future. So yes, there is possibility for extension. What you can also see here at the distillery is that they are really old school with their maturation and warehouse management in particular, because there is no barcode on this cask. There is only work with stencils on it. So they stencil the cask with the distillery name, then the town they're living in, or the cask is stored, but they only have warehouse in one town, when the cask was filled, and the number of the cask. Plus they have one special sign here that is not really required, but they need it, is a sign what is inside this cask. If you don't have the peat, then it's a non-peated normal spirit, and if you have the peat, then it's the 10 ppm spirit they do 2 months a year. So yeah, the distillery has a number of different casks. We can see here a lot of ex-bourbon casks. We have quite a number of hogsheads as well. Then we have sherry casks, sherry butts. That is kind of the classical, what they are looking for. But they also use some, other classics like port pipes. They do have a few Madeira in here, but they don't believe in like the very fancy wines or cognac yet, they told me. So they want to have, first of all, a classical Scottish Highland whiskey, Northern Highland whiskey. Yeah, and what they also do have, they have their own bottling. In the other warehouse, they have a separated area where they can dump the cask, marry it in a marriage tank, water it down, and filter out the bits from the cask in normal filtering, no chill filtration, and fill it into the bottles, label it, put it in the boxes, and that's when it's being shipped off to all the traders worldwide where you can buy the Wolfburn whiskey. Yeah, so that was the production from very start to very end, and now I'm gonna sit down and have a bit of the Wolfburn whiskey and get some exciting questions answered, so stay tuned. So I'm standing here with Mark Westmoreland, and you've been with the company since 2017 already.
Yeah, that's right, Ben.
You know all about the distillery, so thank you very much for having us here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you here. Thanks to everybody at sort of Germany, our biggest market. And thanks to Whisky.de for making the effort to come and see us.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a distillery in place, and you got such a great distillery with everything pretty much done on site.
Yeah, that's very important to us, Ben, as well, because as a small independent distillery, we want to have supreme control over our spirit. Yeah. So that's why we store everything on site, that's why we hand bottle everything on site, and it just means that we know that our standards are very, very high.
Yeah, that's cool if you have such a small distillery that just does it all.
Yeah.
And you've talked about, we've chatted a lot about the staff, and you got quite a young staff.
Yeah, it's important as well, having a young staff. We're obviously training for the future. You know, two of our distillers, Charlie and Innes, have been with us for 5 years. Max has been with us, he'll be 3 years in January, and Matthew we took on last year straight from school. So it means that we're building resilience.
And the oldest one of them is
21, and Ian, our distillery manager, he wouldn't like me to tell you how old he is.
Okay, so he's an experienced guy. Okay, so what are we having?
We're having our core expressions, the backbone of Wolfburn, as we say. We'll start with the Northland, our first expression. This came out in 2016. This is what really put Wolfburn on the map. This was our first ever commercial expression. It's our non-peated spirit, but matured in ex-Isla quarter casks. So for a young distillery to get our spirit out quick, because we didn't do gin, we didn't do vodka. So for 3 years we had no revenue coming in.
That's tough.
Part of the business plan. But to mature in small quarter cask matures that wee bit faster, that wee bit more intense, and it allows us to get that spirit to the consumer just that wee bit quicker as well. So 3 to 4 years, and people were actually blown away at the quality of spirit that we have, the taste, the flavour. But I'll let you be the judge yourself with this one.
Hopefully I can smell you. It's quite cold in here.
Oh, it is.
Oh, you can smell it.
That lovely sort of peated smokiness.
It's more smoky than I expected.
And that's just through the maturation as well.
So it's just from what you get outside the wood that was soaked in there. Yeah, but it got a nice bourbon kind of touch as well. Yeah,
there is that lovely sort of oaky vanilla sort of spiciness that comes through. But it's very fruity on the nose for me as well, because again with our fermentation times, that lovely fruity floral note that comes through as well.
Yeah, it's a lovely Northern Highland style whiskey. I love this tour. You got so much.
All the best.
Slange.
I like to chew a whiskey as well. Get it all round there.
It's pretty mild. Until you swallow it. Oh, no, it hits you with the peat.
46%.
Oh, really?
Everything that we do is non-chill filtered. No added colouring as well. It's not like an aggressive hot poker going down the throat. I always describe it as just a tear. A lovely, happy tear just rolling down the cheek. That's the descent that we want. Yes, it's going to put a fire in your belly, and yes, it's going to put a smile on your face as well.
But it's not. It's pretty light and round. It's not a. I would have expected from like the first distillery is always a bit harsher, but you got it. Okay, you're doing a light Highland style fruity. That's all what you're looking for. So nice.
That light vibrancy as well comes from our distillation. A lot of copper contact. We don't fill the stills to capacity. So again, just as you said there, we don't want it to be over aggressive or harsh or raw, as you might expect, as you said, with a young spirit. Our new make spirit is quite fruity. It's got like a tropical fruit flavour to it, in my opinion. Like a barbecued pineapple, like a banana fritter. It's got that lovely sort of luscious tropical notes to it. But everybody's palate's different.
Yeah, the taste is always
very subjective.
A subjective argument. I like it. So this was the first product you brought out in 2016, something around there?
Yeah.
And you started off, what you said, January in 2013?
2013, January the 25th, a very special date in Scotland.
It's Robbie Burns Day.
Robbie Burns Day and night, and that's when everybody across the world with an ounce of Scottish can come together, drink whiskey, eat haggis, wear tartan, and celebrate the bard, celebrate Burns with poems and songs. And
that's nice.
A bit of party spirit as well.
Yeah. So, but 2013. Now we're in end of 2021. So. Is there any age statement coming out, like a 10-year-old somewhere? Is there any
trade secret? But yeah, it's like a milestone for us. A 10-year-old, just over a year's time, January 2023, we'll have a probably limited 10-year-old release. You've heard it here first. But it's like any distillery. You want to actually celebrate your milestone as the whiskey industry will look like that 10-year-old will again just elevate the Wolfburn status.
Yes, definitely. Well. It just puts you on the map.
It does, and that's what we're so looking forward to it.
First years are the toughest. I think you're through the toughest years already.
Yeah.
Because you have a range of 4 whiskies and they are competitive. So I like it.
This is what it's all about.
So you got quite a range here. And so what is the next one we're gonna have?
We're going to try the Aurora, which is our sherry-aged expression. This came out on the success of the Northland in 2016 as well. So these were both released in 2016. I'll just pour myself just a little dram here. Love that sound. That should be my message alert. But yeah, this is a combination of Oloroso sherry casks and first fill bourbon casks as well. The name comes from the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights.
How often do you get them here?
Very regular during the winter time, but you just have to have the best atmospheric conditions as well.
Yeah.
I always say if you come to Wolfburn and you don't see the Aurora Borealis, drink plenty of Aurora. You're about to see something in the sky, dancing pink elephants, I'm not sure. But please drink responsibly, you have to do that.
Yeah, we have our own app and we're looking at it every day, but it's quite cold outside.
Yeah, it's that wintry wonderland that you've came today. Snow's on the ground. But what's the best way to cheer yourself up and to put a fire in your belly by drinking beautiful Wolfburn whiskey?
So is it like 50-50 sherry or is it?
Now it is, it's 50-50. However, when it first came out in 2016, we did 25% sherry and 75% bourbon. But now we've got more access to some of our older sherry casks as well. And we've listened to our consumer base, the Wolf Pack, the people that come to Wolfburn. They wanted more sherry. So we've done 50% Aurora sherry and 50% first fill bourbon casks as well. It's our best seller, just by a small margin.
Yeah, people do like the sherry.
Everybody likes something sweet nowadays, back and forth.
But it's just such a lovely smell and such a lovely taste.
Flange again.
Flange.
Enjoy.
No, that's a little bit different. With a little bit more ripe fruit.
Yep.
And this is now definitely non-peated.
Yeah, the same non-peated spirit that went into the Northland has gone into the Aurora as well.
But no Isla cask either.
No smoke. Maybe a slight coffee bitterness from it. A nice bit of white pepper spice on the tongue I get.
Yeah, it's a bit stronger than I expected. But you got European cask in there. European oak, I mean.
Spanish oak.
Spanish oak.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oloroso. And again, it's very clean, very fresh, quite a lovely sort of oiliness on the palate as well. So not only is the nose and the palate really nice, it's the mouthfeel on a whiskey as well. It just adds to that immersive experience as well.
Slange. This came out pretty early as well.
With 2016. So again, the cask age between 3 and 4 years only when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Again, what we were doing with the size of casks, what we were doing with our initial spirit, what we want with our wood management program. We're standing in warehouse number 2 at the moment. We want the wood management program to actually proclaim our spirit rather than overwhelm it. So again, it's like scoring a goal for your favourite team in the FA Cup finals, say. You want your team to take you around the pitch, elevated on the shoulders, and you want to celebrate that. That's what we want the wood to do with our spirit.
Yeah.
We want to proclaim our DNA, our essence of Wolfburn.
You can still feel the spirit coming through, but complemented very nicely with the oak. Yeah. So, as you're doing everything on site and you're a small company, we had a bit of over the last years. We had a bit of a how did they call it? Supply chain crisis or something. Yeah. Is that happening to you? Are you getting the glass? Can you still supply whiskey over the next years?
That's the whole thing about being a small, fiercely independent company as well. We can make decisions quickly by ourselves. We don't have to go to a board of shareholders, or we don't have to go to our directors. We make decisions that suit ourselves because of emerging circumstance. So early last year, a wee bit ahead of the curve, we ordered as much glass as we could afford.
Oh, okay.
So we've just built warehouse number 4. That's full of glass. So the process for us, because hand bottling on site, it means that everything's here. So again, adapt and overcome. This is the sort of the motto as well for the last 18 months for us.
Yeah, probably before that crisis hit, it was a bold move to buy that amount of glass.
Yeah, and fortune favours the brave, as we say at Wolfburn. Good Sedgway. Life, you have to take risk to get reward. And certainly it's calculated risk, but you have to get off your backside and actually put in the effort to get those accolades.
Good example for that saying.
Yeah,
if you say, yeah, I buy that glass now, and you come out good.
That's what it's all about.
Fortune favours you. So what's the third one then?
Third one is the Morven. Thank you very much, Ben. This is now something just that wee bit different. This is our lightly peated spirit.
This is the 10 ppm.
Yeah, and this we only do for 2 months of the year as well. So this is a combination of the same ex-Isla quarter casks and first fill bourbon casks. And the ratio is probably about 50-50 in this respect. Morven is named after the highest peak in Caithness. Caithness is very flat. It's Europe's largest peat bog. It's called the flow country. So no matter our whiskey flows, the actual countryside around us is called the flow country as well. But yeah, this is our lightly peated version, and this is a beautiful balance of sweetness and smoke. This is a great whiskey for people that want to experiment with peated whiskey. This is a lovely introductory whiskey.
Yeah, 10 ppm is not much. That is very, very low. So I'm excited if that's more than the Northland, or if the Morven is more smoky than.
Yeah, and again, combination of the ex-Isla casks for 50% maturation just gives it just that wee bit more depth and a wee bit more resonance as well. So, but yeah, it's got a lovely ball of smoke on the back palate, just firing out ever so gently. It's not like a recycled hospital. It's not going to be too medicinal. It's not going to be too iodine either. It's just a lovely, sweet, malty smoke, and that lovely sort of rich, honeyed fruit flavours will come through as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm warming up the whiskey anymore.
No, you don't get any heat radiating out of the glass. The heat goes in, but then the heat comes from within, and it just rises. This is what we want.
Yeah, the nosing is. I think if you have a nice fireplace at home, then
beautiful.
Then you will get the nosing, but I don't get any. Either it's still very light, but I do get the peat smoke there and a bit of a light freshness in there. But yeah, you could get a lot more out of gas in a different situation.
And again, it's like any distillery. In 10, 15 years, you want Wolfburn. You want somebody to pick up a glass and go, that's a Wolfburn. That's the unique characteristic that every distillery strives for. And of course, we're lucky here because you're in a traditional dunnage warehouse. We're storing everything on site. So you're getting the sea air coming in. We're surrounded by farmers' fields here and gorse and heather. As the angel share leaves, the outside environment has an opportunity to come in, and this is what's going to characterise our spirit as well.
Yeah,
so
definitely. So you got a bit of a Thurso is a Viking village.
Yeah.
You got a bit of a Viking background. Do you always go Slange or do you sometimes go Skål?
Skål, cheers. I'll say it in any language. It's just to say, welcome to the dram. It's your introduction. It's your introduction to the dram as well. So yeah, I'll say absolutely anything. But it's an absolute pleasure to share the whiskey because ultimately we make a bottle with a hole in the top for a reason. That whiskey has to be shared and enjoyed as well.
Yeah, sure. So Slange.
I love it when you're listening to people drinking whiskey as well. You hear the without them having to say anything. They know that they're enjoying the whiskey because of the sounds that they make as well.
What I love about it is it has really that low peat smokiness.
Yeah.
And that always comes a bit over as chocolate. This has more than I expected.
Okay.
So you have that chocolate but you realize there's a bit more. There is a bit that smoke, really smokiness. So I like it.
And again, for us, the Morven for me, an absolute cracking dram because the smoke is like a veil, but the flavour can actually come through that veil. As the veil's lifted, the flavour comes through. So again, that peat smoke, that sort of smoky flavour that you would expect isn't overpowering the spirit. It's allowing the flavour and our fruity floral notes to come through as well, which is, a lot of people that'll come to the stand at Wolfburn if I'm doing shows and festivals, they'll say, I'm not really into peated whiskey, but I give them the Morven and they seem to like it because again, it's just a beautiful flavour to it. It's very light, it's very delicate, but it's a very tasty dram.
I like it. Yeah. There's not that many lightly peated whiskies out there. I always like it when you have a lightly peated whiskey because you rarely get it. You either have the Isla ones or you have the Speyside that have none of it, and the ones in the middle, some island whiskies have it, or you have the lightly peated, and I do like it because it's a good introduction to the peated ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we did our core range, we thought, it's a good business decision. Right? We're business, we have to make money, but let's do it the best way for the consumer. So what we do is we give them a non-peated, we give them a sherry, we give them a lightly peated, and then we give them a cask strength. So it gives them 4 different flavours to actually try at Wolfburn. So if they don't like one, they can go on to the second, the third, or the fourth as well. So.
Oh yeah, I like it. So when you have cask strength, and you're kind of not just global brand ambassador, but we've talked a bit about the private cask. Can you tell me anything about that?
Yeah, we're in the lucky position at Wolfburn that we don't have to sell our casks. Like we don't sell for any independent bottlings. We don't sell for blends. We don't produce enough, but this is our spirit. So you come to us. If you don't want to come to us, you'll not get it anywhere else. So we're the private casks. Usually when I'm doing shows or festivals or tastings, I'll get presentations from people who are in the audience to say, We really love your spirit. We really love your story. We like the legend. We like your independence, the fact that you're doing everything on site, the fact that you're hand bottling. Can we buy a cask? What we do is we speak to them. I usually sound them out first, and then we say, okay, who are you? Why do you want it? And then we make a decision. So we maybe do 12 casks a year, if that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very small amount of casks.
Small amount of casks. But so you have the, what do you call it, the Wolfburn label on it, and then you can have a little bit of a customization going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we'll handle something out later.
But what's better than actually investing into a product that you can actually stay with the journey? Like Wolfburn's going on an adventure here. We don't know where we're going to end up. So what we say to people is, come along for the ride. Come along with us. And it means that there's not just a financial investment, but there's an emotional investment in Wolfburn as well, because every year you're coming to us, you're tasting from the cask, you're getting your picture next to the cask, you're watching it sleep, you're stroking it, you're getting everything. And this is what we want. We want the right people to come as private cask members, not just about the profit or the prestige. We want people to actually invest emotionally into Wolfburn, because our heart and soul goes into making our spirit. I always say blood, sweat and tears goes into making Wolfburn, but that wouldn't taste nice in the glass. That's why we have to produce a phenomenal spirit.
So the last one is a cask strength then.
Yeah, Langskip. Named after the Viking longship, as you said, Thurso, Thor's town, the Viking settlement. The Langskip, we wanted something that would be quite powerful. And when you have a picture in your mind of that Viking longship smashing through the waves, this is what we thought with the Langskip name as well.
Okay.
And this is at 58%. The three that we've had before are 46%, and this is 58%. And these are first fill bourbon casks only. And this came out in 2018. Cheers, Ben.
So this is a bit later than the others?
Yeah, we used the majority. We used a lot of our oldest casks in 2018. So we were 5 years old by then. So these were like 5-year-old bourbon casks, and we added some 4-year-old bourbon casks as well. 58%. Why 58? Yeah, we fill our casks at 63.5, and over the years, that'll depreciate. However, what we've done, Thurso, if you look on Thurso on the map, it sits at the 58th degree as well. So it's a nice pinpoint to where we are in the world. The most northerly whisky distillery on the mainland of the UK.
Yeah, nice. I like it. So let's see.
Slange, all the best.
Oh, that is sweet.
Obviously.
Slange.
Bourbon casks. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide with first fill bourbon casks. If you want to taste whiskey across the world, and it's all bourbon casks, there's nowhere to hide. So it stands on its own, it really does.
It doesn't hit me that bad with the 58. But it's a really sweet one.
Yeah.
It's first fill bourbon cask.
Yeah. Now, just what you said about the 58% not hitting you. We get that a lot with our spirit. It's strong, you can feel it.
Yeah, it got that sweetness and a little bit of a cake flavor. Not cake, shortbread.
Well, I used to in a previous life, in a previous job, I used to deal with a doctor who was from Germany, and every Christmas he used to bring in a Stollen cake. So this for me has got that lovely sort of dark, rich fruit, that lovely sort of marzipan, that lovely sort of icing sweetness to it as well. That's my palate, especially when I've taken a breath like that. I get that lovely almond nuttiness. I get that lovely sort of sweetness as well through that sort of vanilla caramel-esque taste as well. But again, you could say the complete opposite, and you won't be wrong, because your expression, or my expression, that's the great thing about the whiskey community. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
It's now I can feel a little bit of that 58 coming through. But it's a beautiful Northern Highland, light, very sweet one. Yeah, a bit of that dried fruits coming through.
Yeah.
But for me, the sweetness with a little bit of a bakery, sugary tone. I don't want to say sugary because sugary always had a negative touch, but it's perfect in there.
I've done some tastings across Germany, and one of the tastings I did, somebody described it as like a strudel, like a lovely sort of apple strudel with those lovely sort of rich sort of raisins and sultanas as well, that lovely sort of sweetness, just as you're saying, that pastry, that sweetness that you might expect from it as well. And they weren't wrong.
Oh yeah.
And they did like it.
Oh, I love it. I'm really excited. Yeah. And I'm really excited about how the Wolfburn is coming into the future with more expressions and older expressions and but I don't think...
And these are just some casks that we've highlighted for our core range. You know, we haven't even gone into our rum casks or port casks yet as well. So keep your eyes on us, because you never know how things are going to...
Yeah, I've seen some podcasts there, and they got some numbers on them where something might happen even maybe beforehand.
You just never know.
You never know, but yeah, that's the distillery's decision what they're gonna do, and I think you will do just as fine as you did before. And if you see that great range, then your hardest years have been already past you probably.
The great thing about the range is that we've put our effort into making the range as best as we can, because nothing will come out of Wolfburn that we haven't done our best for the consumer. That flavour, that taste, that Northern Highland expression that we want to put out, it means that everything else, as you said, we've done the hard yards now, we've done the hard work now. So yeah, watch this space. Put Wolfburn back under the microscope, and let's see what we're doing in the future.
Yeah, so thank you very much for having us at the distillery. Thank you for showing us the great whiskies. And if you want to stay updated until the Wolfburn will come out, the 10-year-old, or maybe they will do another expression, stay tuned with the Whisky.com news, because we will definitely mention them in here. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, then please feel free to share the video with your friends that might also be interested. And yeah, thank you and see you next time.